me standing with grandfather on the ha-ha when I lived with him during the war. When Plymouth was being bombed, Mum and Dad decided that I would be safer living with grandfather. And I was sent with the nanny to Worcestershire. And I lived with him for nearly a year. He had his own petrol well. There was a sort of like a manhole cover outside, not far from the front door, round by the garages, because it was a huge house, well furlong, and it had greenhouses with peaches and grapes in, and he had a big garage. He loved cars, anything mechanical. The theory about his car was that it went better in the evenings, and so he had a cocoa tin full of water, because then he thought it was like the dew in the evenings, and he had a cocoa tin in the engine, so that there was a kind of mistiness about it. I mean, there are all sorts of stories about him. Whether they're true, half of them, I don't know. I mean, it's said that he rode a penny farthing over the Alps, but whether that's true or not, I'm not really sure. Well, I just remember him being quite eccentric. He liked to have all bran for breakfast, and he poured the tea onto the all bran. And grandfather, I do remember on the terrace there were sort of rocks everywhere that he had, geological specimens and things. But of course what I remember was his roll-top desk, and in the top right-hand drawer there were always misshapen bits of chocolate from Cadbury's. All the misshapes they couldn't sell were in that drawer, and you were allowed to have some on certain days. But I don't think he was particularly good with money, grandfather. I think he was a generous man. But I knew he was chief engineer at the Cadbury's and at Fry's, and I think a lot of the Quaker firms helped each other. I have good memories of him. Corbin was my mum's youngest brother. But Corbin and my mum were really quite naughty. My mum had a wicked sense of humour, and so did Corbin. And there were all sorts of stories about Corbin. Our story we loved as children was that he had a nanny that he absolutely hated. And he tied the nanny to the table leg and then threw wooden bricks at her or something. But they were quite naughty, I think, and they giggled a lot and played practical jokes. And there is a bit of a wicked sense of humour in the Barrows, really. They always liked a joke or two.
Always stay as sweet as you are.